Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving deep into something super fascinating, and I think a lot of you are going to get a lot out of this. We're talking all about AI app development, specifically prompt engineering and how to keep your AI on the right track using guardrailing. You know, like those large language models, the ones everyone's talking about. The AI that can write stories, translate languages, and even code. Well, think of it like a really smart chatbot, but one that needs a little bit of guidance.
And these models are incredibly powerful, but like you said, they need that guidance. And that's where guardrailing comes in. It's all about making sure our AI creations stay focused, relevant, safe, all the things we want.
Yeah. Okay, so let's break down this guardrailing a bit more. Can you maybe explain it in simple terms and why it's so important for those building apps that rely on AI to respond to user prompts?
Sure. Let's imagine you're building a chatbot for a travel agency.
Yeah.
You want it to help users plan their trips, suggest destinations, maybe even book flights and hotels. Great, right? But what if a user asks something unusual?
Unusual how?
Well, like, plan me a trip to Mordor.
Uh-huh. Okay, I see what you're getting at. Our chatbot might take that request literally and start talking about volcanoes and dark lords instead of picking up on the Lord of the Rings reference.
Exactly. And that's what guardrailing is there to prevent. Making sure our AI understands the context, stays on topic, and doesn't go off generating anything offensive, inappropriate, or just plain weird.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's like giving our AI chatbot a little bit of common sense and teaching it about boundaries. So how do we build these guardrails? How do we teach it?
One of the most effective methods is prompt engineering. Think of it as learning to speak the AI's language. We're crafting prompts so that they give us back the responses we're looking for.
Oh, I like that. So we're kind of like learning a secret code to communicate better with our AI. So what are some of the things we can do?
Well, first off, be super clear with your instructions. Don't just say, write a story. Be specific. Say, write a short, humorous story about a cat who thinks he's a superhero.
Got it. So it's all about specificity and giving the AI very clear directions.
Exactly. And this stops the AI from wandering off on tangents. Another technique is role-based prompting. We're giving the AI a specific personality or a role to play, like maybe a historian, a poet, or even a stand-up comedian.
Okay, so it's like we're giving the AI a character, and then his tone and style will reflect that.
Exactly. If we wanted our travel chatbot to sound enthusiastic and adventurous, we might tell it, you are a world traveler who loves to explore and share those experiences.
Very cool. That way we can make those responses more engaging for the user.
And then there's negative prompting, which is basically telling the AI what not to do.
Oh, so that's setting those boundaries we talked about.
Exactly. We can use this to make sure the AI avoids certain words or phrases or certain topics or even just a tone of voice that's not right for our app.
Right. So with our travel chatbot, we could tell it, don't mention dangerous activities, avoid political discussions, and keep it light and friendly.
Right. That helps keep everything inside the guardrails.
It all makes sense. But let's say we're getting some pretty good responses already. Is there a way to make them even better? Like top-notch responses?
Absolutely. There's a technique called few-shot learning. We give the AI some good examples to learn from.
Ah, so it's like showing the AI what a good answer looks like and saying, do something like this.
Exactly. Let's say we have a chat bot to help people write professional emails. Well, we could give it a few good examples and highlight things like the subject line, the main message, a polite closing, all the elements of a good email. And the AI can learn from those examples and start mimicking them.
That's really cool. We're kind of training it by showing it a good template.
And the great thing about few-shot learning is that the AI can take those examples and apply them to different situations.
This is super helpful. So
Yeah.
we've got a good handle on prompt engineering now with techniques like specific instructions, giving the AI a role to play, negative prompting, and showing good examples. Anything else we need to think about when building guardrails?
Choosing the right AI model for the job is also crucial. It's like picking the right tool. Different models have different strengths and weaknesses.
So it's not just about how we talk to the AI, but which AI we're talking to.
Right. So if we have an app that needs to handle different languages, we'd need an AI that's specifically trained for that. Or if we need one that can generate creative text, like poems or code, we'd pick one that excels in that area.
Makes sense. So there's a whole bunch of different AIs out there, each with its own specialties. And picking the right one is important to making our guardrails work properly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about finding the perfect AI for our app's goals and making sure it works with the guardrails we need.
I feel like this has been a really great deep dive into guardrailing and prompt engineering so far. I'm already feeling more confident about building AI apps.
Yeah.
Before we wrap this up, are there any common misconceptions about guardrailing that you'd like to address?
One of the biggest misconceptions is that guardrailing restricts the AI, that we're stifling its creativity, turning it into some kind of robotic rule follower.
So people might think that by setting all these boundaries, we're limiting the AI's ability to be creative or come up with unique results.
Exactly. But the truth is, guardrailing is about helping the AI reach its full potential by making sure it's creative within the boundaries we've set so it can actually achieve the goals we've set for it.
It's not about putting it in a box, but giving it a framework so it can thrive.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. It's about finding that balance between guiding the AI without crushing its creativity. And that's where the art of prompt engineering comes in.
Wow, this has been eye-opening. I'm really excited to see where we go next with our exploration of guardrailing.
Welcome back. Let's pick up where we left off, exploring this fascinating world of guardrailing in prompt engineering. So we've talked about picking the right model and using those powerful prompt engineering techniques. Now there's another layer to this, something called fine-tuning, and it can really take things to the next level.
Fine-tuning. Okay, it sounds like we're taking our AI model to a specialized training camp to really hone its skills.
You got it. Imagine this. You have a musician who's pretty good at a lot of instruments, but you really want them to shine on the violin for a special concert. You'd probably give them some specialized training, right? Focus on those violin-specific techniques.
Yeah, totally. They'd practice certain pieces, work on their bowing, really master that instrument. So how does that apply to AI?
Well, fine-tuning is a similar concept. We start with a pre-trained AI, one that has a good understanding of language, and then we train it further on a data set that's super relevant to what we want it to do.
So if we're building a chatbot to help doctors with diagnoses, we wouldn't just use any language model. We'd train it on medical textbooks, research papers, patient records, stuff like that.
Exactly. By training the AI on this specific data, we're teaching it the language of medicine, the relationships between symptoms and diseases, how to think like a doctor when making the diagnosis.
So it's like giving our AI a medical degree. It's becoming an expert.
That's the idea. And here's where it gets really interesting. Fine-tuning allows us to customize the model to match our guardrailing goals.
Oh, how does that work?
Okay, let's go back to our doctor chatbot. We could fine-tune it on a data set that emphasizes patient privacy and ethical concerns. Train it to avoid sharing personal info, to use appropriate language, to always recommend talking to a real doctor.
Right, so we're not just teaching it medical knowledge, but also how to be responsible and ethical.
Exactly, and that's the power of fine-tuning. We can shape its values and behaviors, make sure it's aligned with our ethical guidelines and whatever our app needs.
Wow. Like we're building in safety and ethics right into the model.
Now, there's a distinction we need to make here that often causes confusion: grounding versus guardrailing. They both play a role in safe and trustworthy AI, but they're not the same thing.
Okay, this is where it gets a bit tricky. I've heard both terms, but I'm not always sure what the difference is. Can you explain it?
Let's say we're making a chatbot for a historical society, something that can answer questions about the past. Guardrailing is about keeping it on track, preventing it from saying harmful or irrelevant things.
So those are our safety bumpers, making sure it stays within the boundaries.
Exactly. Grounding, though, is about making sure the AI is accurate. That its answers are based on real-world information. It's about connecting it to a reliable source of truth.
So grounding is like giving it a solid foundation of knowledge, right?
Precisely. Guardrails stop it from going off the rails, while grounding makes sure its answers are based in reality.
I get it. So for our history chatbot, the guardrails would stop it from making up events or saying offensive things about historical figures?
Exactly. And grounding would make sure that its answers about, let's say, the Civil War are based on real history, not conspiracy theories or made-up stories.
Okay, so we need both to make a chatbot that's safe and reliable, one that's both accurate and ethical.
Exactly. And those prompt engineering techniques we discussed earlier, they play a role in both grounding and guardrailing.
Ooh, give me an example. How can we use them for both?
Imagine an AI writing assistant for students working on essays. We could use role-based prompting and tell it to act as a helpful tutor. Right. That's a guardrail. We're making sure it gives constructive feedback, not harsh criticism.
Right. That sets the tone for the interaction.
For grounding, we could give the AI access to a ton of academic resources. That way, its suggestions are based on solid sources.
So it's giving advice based on real research and data.
Cool.
That's a great example of both.
Exactly. Or imagine a chatbot that helps people learn about different cultures. Negative prompting would be a good guardrail to prevent it from saying things that are stereotypical or biased.
Right, we're specifically telling it what to avoid.
And for grounding, we could give it a data set of firsthand accounts, cultural information, historical data, make sure its responses are based on real, diverse perspectives.
That's awesome. So guardrailing and grounding really do go hand in hand. They're both important for building AI that we can trust. But it's a lot to keep up with, especially with AI changing so fast. Any advice on how to stay up to date with all this?
Great question. The AI world is definitely moving fast.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do is just keep learning, make it a habit.
So don't just learn it once and think you're done. Keep exploring and stay curious.
Yeah. Talk to other people in the field, go to conferences, read what's new, and most importantly, just keep building and experimenting. The more you practice, the better you'll get at this whole guardrailing and prompt engineering thing.
Welcome back, everyone. So far, we've explored a lot about guardrailing and prompt engineering. Choosing the right AI model, crafting effective prompts, fine-tuning those models, it's all been incredibly insightful. Now let's zoom in on something super important for developers, especially those working on apps where users interact with AI through prompts, and that's output filtering and moderation.
Yeah, this is where we make sure the AI's responses are not just accurate and on topic, but also safe for people to see.
Right, like a final quality check before anything gets shown to the user. We want to catch any problems before they become actual problems.
Exactly. And there are a few ways we can do this. One of them is keyword filtering. Think of it like having a bouncer at the door of our AI app.
Okay, I like the analogy. Tell me more about this bouncer.
So it's actually pretty simple. We create a list of keywords that we absolutely don't want our AI to use. These might be offensive words, discriminatory language, anything that goes against our app's content policy.
So like if we're building an app for kids, we might add words related to violence, swearing, or adult content.
Right. And whenever the AI generates something, this filter scans it for those forbidden words and stops them from reaching the user.
So it's a safety net to catch anything harmful that might slip through.
Now, keyword filtering is a great start, but it's not perfect. Sometimes harmful stuff can be hidden. Using clever wordplay or sneaky phrasing. That's where sentiment analysis comes in.
Sentiment analysis. Didn't we talk about that earlier? Like understanding the tone of voice in a message.
Right. And with output filtering, sentiment analysis helps us go beyond just looking at individual words. We're analyzing the AI's whole response to figure out its overall tone and intent.
So even if it doesn't use any of our banned words, we can still tell if the response is sarcastic, hateful, or just not appropriate.
Exactly. It's like we have a special AI radar that detects negative vibes and toxicity.
I can see how that's really important, especially when our AI is generating creative text like stories, poems, or social media posts.
Exactly. When it comes to creative stuff, we have to be even more careful about tone and what the AI might be implying.
Okay, so we've got keyword filtering, we've got sentiment analysis. Anything else we should be doing?
Well, there's one more important thing. Human review. Even with those automated filters, sometimes you need a human to step in.
So a real person checks the AI's output, especially for sensitive topics or high-stakes applications.
Yeah, this could involve having a moderation team check everything before it goes public, or maybe we give users a way to report anything they think is inappropriate.
Right. It's like having a team of human guardians to make sure everything stays safe.
And this human oversight is super important when dealing with things that require cultural awareness, ethical judgment, or understanding complex social situations.
Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive into guardrailing and AI safety. We've covered so much ground, from prompt engineering to picking the right AI model to fine-tuning and filtering output. It's been a great journey.
And remember, this is just the beginning of your journey into the world of AI. This field is always evolving, and there are always new challenges and opportunities to explore.
You got that right. So stay curious, try new things, keep experimenting, and above all, have fun with it.
Well said. With careful planning, thoughtful execution, and always keeping those ethical considerations in mind, you can build AI apps that are not just innovative, but also safe, reliable, and beneficial.
Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible deep dive. We hope you've learned a lot and that you're feeling inspired to go out and build amazing things with AI.